Hey, what's up, guys? Man, all right. So I'm gonna drop some just quick tips today. Self development. This is Doc Beast episode number 112. Number 112. So if I could give you one piece of advice to help you become successful in everything that you do, like I said everything. I didn't say some things like everything you could do. Now, multiple people tell you things like meditate or get a mentor or whatever. I think the number one self development, the number one, I just gave the answer. I just gave the answer. The number one thing that you can do to be successful every day that I believe is a must, is a must, is a must, is a must, is a must. The number one thing that you can do to be successful every single day is self-development in the form of either reading it or listening to some type of podcast or YouTube video. Are the two ways. Are the two ways. So reading it or listening to it, either through a podcast or through a YouTube video, are the best ways to get it in. Now, what I like about reading is that when you read self-development, actually you get a little bit more comprehensive direction about where you should go and what you should do. Because when you read something, they actually can go into detail, and you could quickly go back and skim exactly what part of the 7 habits of highly effective people that you need to focus on if you forgot, or you could quickly read and skim some examples. Like you could go directly where you want to go to. Plus, when you read something, they can really spell out all the steps that you need to do to become effective, and also they get to spell out the reason. Like you can go a lot more. That's the advantage. Everyone thinks, oh, video and the heard word are like the best ways. No, sometimes the written way is the best way. That's why books will always be here forever. So the advantage of actually podcasts and YouTube videos, that when you're out in the world, when you really don't have time, or you're driving a lot, you can actually listen to those things instead of like listening to the radio, or instead of listening to nothing. Or I'll be honest, while you're taking number two, you can listen to any one of these things again. But it's important to listen. Self-development is so important, because that's going to be pretty much the root. That's going to be your base of where you're going to get all other pieces of advice. What do I mean by that? If I tell you to listen to self-development, then you're going to learn about the importance of why, for instance, meditation will be a great thing for you to do. And depending on what self-development gurus you follow, or what exact episode you've listened to, whether you read or podcast or YouTube, they'll actually give you insight into where to go to learn about meditation. They'll tell you how much sleep you get, or what's the importance of sleep, or some of the self-developments. Not only do they tell you, what you need to do, but they specifically go into details about what you need to do, and it'll actually point you in a certain direction. So self-development is key. So there are some self-development podcasts that go into detail about what you need to do as far as a diet or exercise program. There's many ways to skin a cat. So if you want to be successful, the number one piece of advice that you need to follow is get involved in reading or listening to self-development every single day. There are going to be some days you may only have time to do 5 minutes. Here's my thing. I'm a big believer in this. Five minutes of anything is still better than nothing. Don't get me wrong. Even when it comes to training, I tell people still put in your 30 minutes to an hour a day. But if you only have 10 minutes or 5 minutes to do some crazy push-ups or some sit-ups, do that. The reason I always say still do something, but don't make it into a habit, is because if you do something, at least you have the momentum going of, okay, I got to keep this habit up. So I do a couple of days where I only did 10 minutes. Oh, this day I have an hour available. I need to put in my hour, and I need to get back into putting my 30 minutes to an hour of working out, as opposed to when you're in that momentum of like, I don't have time today. I don't have time today. We've seen it many times where one day turns into a couple of days, turns into a week, turns into 2 months. Now, 6 months, you haven't gone to the gym one time. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. Matter of fact, it's happened to me a couple of times way back before I started my original fitness journey in 2009. So self-development every single day. That's the most important. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's more important than things like prayer, but self-development will lead you to things like prayer. It will lead you to your family, because the self-development will actually tell you why it's important for you, if you're a spiritual or religious person, why you need to pray every day, why you need to spend time with family, the importance of why it's important for you to put your loved one first before you, and let that be your primary motivation. So that's why I said, I'm not saying, oh, it's more important than things like religion and all that stuff. What I'm saying is self-development is the root, the basis that'll lead you towards those very important things. But first, you got to get into the habit of doing self-development. Peace.